All right, so today we're going to have a little conversation, Doreen and I. And we've talked about a lot of the problems associated with technology. Today we want to talk a bit about some solutions or some ways we combat the negative effects of technology, because technology just does have a way of replacing people, whether it's automation in factories or whether it's through our personal devices, which we sometimes tend to find more interesting than the people we're sitting right next to. You see that all over the place. So, and we're not immune to those effects in community, I wouldn't say.
No, we're not.
So I don't know if there's anything you've thought of since we last talked about how relationships or how community can help ameliorate the effects, the negative effects of technology.
So I would say that this summer in particular, with the coronavirus pandemic going on, it's given all of us, even in community, a chance to reflect on what's important in life, because we can't just resume normal activities and just go out and about and do whatever we want to do without being cautious and wearing masks and all these things. So if I reflect on my summer so far, it's been a lot of campfires in the evening, spending time with family, singing. I've done a lot more reading than I have for a very long time. And yeah, it's been totally different. Like it's given me a chance to reflect on what is important, what is essential, and what brings people together, even when people physically can't be together. You
mentioned singing, and I think singing is just it's a huge part of our culture, our tradition, or the way we do community together is singing. And it's also interesting that music is a huge thing that people consume on technology, even more so today. So maybe can you talk at all about sort of the distinction between consuming music and making music?
Recently, our community, and you were there as well, we had this Irish evening. And one thing that I was thinking about afterwards was how in singing these Irish songs, some of them are really beautiful and deep and heartfelt. It's not so much about the sound, although that was pretty good. It was more about it was more about the experience doing that together, and there's something powerful, there's something fun and happy.
It's an interesting distinction because I think culturally, right, we're in this place now where we're always looking for the stuff that's perfect or perfection. And that's where, a lot of the celebrity culture, celebrity worship, and people are, unless you're in a karaoke bar, people are less comfortable creating stuff on their own. You're going to be listening to whatever the latest Taylor Swift album rather than digging out folk songs like we discussed. So I think there's something really special in community about this culture of creating rather than looking to other people to bring the experience.
Exactly, and I think that maybe in some ways technology is at fault for breeding this perfectionism. Like, you have these talented people, but they're obviously aided by technology to make them sound perfect, and we can't achieve that on our own. So either we don't try, we give up, or we shift to a different paradigm where it's about the community rather than the result.
Right.
I think we've become really result driven, and community takes that away because it's not about trying to find results. It's about how do we come together? How do we bring the children? How do we include the children? I think that's a really good one for you to talk about. I guess my question would be, how do you focus on your kids and put aside technology, or are you intentional about excluding technology from parenting?
There's not a hard line for me with that at all. I think, especially as I mentioned last time with the whole COVID quarantine experience, we kind of had no choice but to allow more technology and screen time than we have in the past. But what I found actually kind of an interesting thing, so my kids are a lot into reading, right? And they got really into audiobooks. We listened through the whole Harry Potter series, which is 50 hours of stuff. But what I realized at the end of it is, even though these voice actors are much more talented readers than I am, and even, they're much more dramatic and interesting, there was something we lost by just, even though we were sitting together as a family and listening to the book, the same book I would have read, it wasn't the same experience as when I sign a book out from the library and we sit around, and I read a book.
Yeah.
We weren't doing it together. We were kind of passively absorbing it.
It's a different energy.
Right. So we talked about singing together.
Yes.
Another thing that's traditionally big in our community is theater. We did, I think a couple years ago, we did a Christmas play together. We put together, you should talk about that.
Yeah. So you're in a totally different space with these people that you thought you knew, and you get to know different dimensions of people's personalities that you otherwise wouldn't have discovered, I think. Because you see them in a different capacity than if you're walking around the community or hanging out together or working together. It's a different playing field.
And a simpler way to do it, if you can't actually spool up a production, is just a simple play reading. We just did this the other night with an older member who really likes Shakespeare. You just get a bunch of scripts. We did Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream and just assign characters, or you can even do rotating characters. And we read this for 2 hours with my daughter's in 7th grade. She was there. She took a part all the way up to this lady who's in her 70s, and we just had a blast. Yeah, so of course we're pretty fortunate because we live in a rural environment, and we get because of where we live, we get to have animals and so on. So I've found that to be, I actually wasn't really into raising animals growing up, but over I started with some pot-bellied pigs, these Vietnamese pot-bellied pigs, sort of got into it from there, and then got cows. Now I have a flock of sheep as well. And the kids have just been so into it. And what's so wonderful about it is it answers a lot of their questions about life without you even having to have much of a conversation about it. So they've been there for the births of cows and sheep, and then they get to see what it takes to raise an animal, the care, and then also you see an animal get sick, or in some cases die, and you go through that miniature heartbreak. That's I don't know, did you have experience?
Yeah, so that brings to mind my dad. He decided when I have 4 brothers, and when they were quite young, the oldest I think was 5th grade, the youngest just was a baby. He decided that one thing that would really get them motivated in the morning was milking a dairy cow. So we went and picked up this scrawny little Jersey calf and raised it behind our house, and then took it to our communal barn area. The boys had to figure out how to build a shed and how to make sure that the cow had proper nutrition and diet, so you had all that going on. And then by the time she was ready to be milked, they had to get out of bed in the morning and go do that. So it was a fantastic, very consistent chore that they had to keep up with, rain or shine, holiday or no holiday. And what I've seen over the years since we've had this cow is how it's also brought people from the community together. So other people have seen what it's done for my brothers, and they're like, hey, let's get in on this. And then the community benefits because the milk is then brought to our communal kitchen area and space where people can come get it if they need it. And my mom's turned our kitchen into a yogurt factory, pretty much.
It's really good. It's amazing. So really people can do it. You can get into it. It doesn't take, like I said, I hadn't a whole lot of experience in it, and I got into it, and been super rewarding. And the other, there's actually positive health benefits as well. The more we learn about, autoimmune diseases and skin conditions that people have, there's a lot of proof that if kids have a chance to be with animals and also get dirty, and their moms aren't freaking out about germs and stuff, they actually end up having a lot less of these problems. So, a lot of good arguments for finding yourself an animal. Well, I can totally see how someone watching this might say, well, that's great for you, but that doesn't work for someone like me in my context. And to that, I would just talk about the power of social conditioning. So, for example, I know plenty of parents who don't want their kids to have phones, but their kids are in peer groups that everyone else has a phone, and it's almost it's almost impossible for parents to hold the line and say, I don't want this for my kid. But we can see the positive effects of social conditioning in something like smoking, right? Cigarette smoking, which used to be everywhere. Do you remember this?
Well, I spent some time in Germany, and it's
still is
everywhere. I mean, they have vending machines for cigarettes.
But in this country too, I mean, it used to everyone smoked, but now through sort of a shift in perception, smoking went from this cool sort of thing to do to being this sort of unhealthy, gross thing to do. And now, you go out there and, it would be pretty embarrassing to spark up on a city street in most contexts. So like in the community, we have this social conditioning where, I don't know if you'd agree with me, but it's be pretty rude to be in company and be on your phone, and I think that's a positive kind of social conditioning, and I can only imagine and hope that as more and more people become aware of these sort of detrimental aspects of technology, that we'll start to, as a society, condition each other away from things that are harmful. So that's a note of hope.
Obviously, this is just our perspective, and I don't know how many people can relate to that. But I think it's so important in community to keep everyone else in mind, because you do have to go against yourself. Like, I'm kind of an introvert by nature, I would say. And sometimes it is a struggle to go against myself and my nature and just, go interact or go be bold and do something that you wouldn't necessarily feel like doing, because that's what really makes us whole. That's what gives us dimension and perspective on life. And often when we are struggling, if we are with other people, that can heal and nurture us and everyone around us.
It's very important. As the old poet John Donne said, no man is an island unto himself. And Doreen could actually sing you the song that we actually have a song called No Man is an Island. I don't know who wrote it.
I think we do have to sing again, though.
Yeah, we did. Well, anyway, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and make sure to subscribe for more videos, and we'll see you next time.
Hit the bell.